Hello, Ms. Boucetta. Welcome to this interview in which we're going to talk about an extremely important question related to the African Continental Free Trade Area between opportunities and challenges for a unified, prosperous and developed continent. So just before starting our interview, I just want to present you to our audience. So Ms. Boucetta, you are a Senior Fellow at the Policy Center for the New South. Prior to that, you have several years of experience in public administration, more than 20 years held in several managerial and leadership roles in the public administration in Morocco, just to name a few, in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and also most recently Secretary of the State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation in Morocco from 2017 to 2019. So it's a great pleasure having you with us. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So this question, Ms. Boucetta, is of African Continental Free Trade Area is crucial, have huge opportunities for our continent, but also some challenges. So happy to have your views on that. So just to start our interview, I just want to ask you a first question. Where do we stand today as for AFC FTA? And why this question is today important for our continent?
Okay, thank you for your invitation. Let me first recall that the signature of the free trade agreement in African countries was in 2018, and it was a really tremendous milestone in economic and African integration. It's very important, and the ambition is to create a large free trade area with the single market for goods and services to almost 1.3 billion of population. So it's very big and great ambition. But even though we know that African countries are now facing many challenges due to COVID-19 and due to the effects of Russia-Ukraine crisis, even though with the importance of AFC trade agreement is still so important, I think today more than tomorrow and more than before, because I think there are two reasons or major reasons. First, the AFCTFA is the relevant instrument to create the economy recovery for African countries and to create new dynamic, stimulate investment and create opportunities. Of course, we need that the free trade agreement must have all the conditions to be well implemented. That's the first reason. The second reason, you have the rising prices of energy and foods, and African countries need to achieve free, resilient, and secure trade now, and to be more, I think, have supply chain more resilient to face all these shocks and challenges.
So thank you, Ms. Boucetta. So beside this importance of the AFC FTA in boosting intra-African investment, its role for building resilience of African countries and also for helping the recovery of African economies. So, and there are even estimates that show, for example, for this question, that if fully implemented, the AFC FTA can increase GDP of all countries by about 1 to 3%. If fully implemented and all the barriers are done with. And besides this question, there is an important question related to employment and job in Africa, which is crucial. So how do you see, for example, the role that can be played by AFC FTA in creating job opportunities for women and youth in Africa?
Okay, so one of the main objectives of AFC FTA was indicated in Article 3 of the agreement is to promote and attain sustainable and inclusive socio-economic development, gender equality, and structural transformation of the state parties. It is clearly that the economic growth and the reduction of inequality are central in the agreements, but the results will differ from countries to countries, depending on their own capacities. And I think it's important to recall the vision of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. The royal vision emphasized that the development of integrated and prosperous Africa should be based on its own resources, especially human resources. So it's important to see that there are many opportunities, sure, but we have to build our capacities, to invest in our resources. And another point, I think, which is also can have an impact on the results is when we have a single market of goods and services, we reinforce our competitive advantage. We also can attract foreign investment, and that is very important to stimulate the economy, to create new opportunities, and to create jobs. But considering your question about the role of youth and women, yes, I agree with you that the role is very important, and I think we didn't explore all the opportunities that we have. And we know that youth and SMEs led by women and by women and youth could be a driver of the economy of Africa. But of course, we need to have adapted systems, financial systems, adapted mechanisms, and also specific support to emerge this. I think the SMEs and can contribute effectively in the economy.
Yes, thank you. You've mentioned that it's the importance of the African Continental Free Trade area in reducing inequalities. And today there is also an important question for Africa, which is related to food security. So with what's happened today at the global level, both rising inflation, rising food prices, the war, the Russian-Ukrainian war that we are witnessing today, so have raised concern about food security in Africa. And there are some experts African experts that highlight the role of African Continental Free Trade area toward a Pan-African approach to deal with food security in Africa. Even in the Policy Center for the New South, we have recently published in our website, policycenter.com, a policy brief where our senior fellow Hafez Ghanem has highlighted this sort of importance of a Pan-African approach, so to help achieve food security for all African countries. So, and that's bringing me to my question, Ms. Boucetta. So how do you see the role, for example, for AFCFTA to industrialize African agriculture in particular and the whole continent in general?
You see, if we look to the structure of the economy in Africa, we see that there are many complementarities that exist and they're not now explored. And if we see some statistics, how it represents the intra-African trade, it just in 2020 just about 80%, and comparing with others, North Africa 30%, Asia 58%, and Europe 68%. So you see that there is huge potential to develop intra-African economy and trade, and that will certainly help to develop share values and to reinforce our supply chains. But Africa, yes, of course, has a great potential on strategic resources, energy, gas, renewable energy, raw materials, fertilizers and others. And also we look the emergence of new competitive platforms of industry. Like in Morocco, we have automotive platforms, and we have aeronautic sectors. So if we have the AFCFTA well implemented, that will enable countries to share values, to have more integrated supply chain, to develop their trade, and of course that will enhance and reinforce the capacity of all countries for industrialization, and especially also in agribusiness, because we know that some countries have the capacity of production and others can develop new technologies. So the common area will facilitate sharing technologies, know-how, practices, and the most important thing is to have integrated and competitive supply chains.
So thank you very much, Ms. Boucetta. You've highlighted several opportunities that can be brought about by the AFCFTA, but there is just one last question, so to conclude our interview. So, what are the challenges, for example, on road to AFCFTAs, and how can we make this AFCFTA a good success for our continent?
I think first thing is we have to finalize all the negotiations on table. I think there is still some negotiation on rules of origin. We have agreed on about more than 87%, and we have to continue. That is important. All the negotiations that we have should be finalized. The second thing, we make focus on the agreements, but as you know, the agreement is just an instrument, and it should be implemented within a holistic approach, integrating quality of infrastructures, logistics, how we can simplify procedures, climate business. So all of the things needs to be highlighted, need to be monitored, to be sure that we'll have the environment which can facilitate the implementation of instruments. And also I think that let me suggest some recommendation also that should be taken by different countries. First, we have to face against non-tariff barriers. I think recent studies from IMF shows that barriers could be up to 4 times more effective in boosting trade. If we have removing the non-tariff barriers, could be up to 4 times more effective in boosting trade than tariff reductions. So the impact is very important. Second, we need to harmonize all our policies, investments, competition, e-commerce, and intellectual property rights. And we have also to develop and reinforce integrated systems for customers, financial, and also for logistics, because that will enhance our competitiveness and will make really added value to trade between countries. And finally, we have digital solutions are very important, and I know that we have many technology developed in the country, and there are many startups that are making a great impact on digital solutions, and of course training, communication, and reinforce access to information and data.
So thank you, Ms. Boucetta. So you've highlighted the role of education, the role of infrastructure, the role of cooperation, which is extremely important. To make this AFCFTA a success in our continent, and also the importance of this question of non-tariff barrier, which is crucial and we have to deal with in Africa. So thank you very much, Ms. Boucetta, for your time, for your valuable insights. It was a pleasure discussing with you this important question. And just maybe to wrap up this question, so sometimes we have a tendency to focus more on competition. So I think that competition is something which is good, but cooperation is even better. And I think that it's a time for all African leaders. One of the priorities is to deal with this question of internal conflicts that are extremely important. So to build peace and stability in our continent, and which is a key element for the success of AFCFTA. So thank you, Ms. Boucetta, for your time another time. It was a pleasure discussing with you, and hoping to see you in another interview.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.